So yeah, we are at For the Brand Studio. My brother's and Joe's, his wife, basically their marketing agency. I don't think I've ever talked about wanting to do a podcast, but it's definitely been something I've thought about. And honestly, it's gonna be like I think it's a super casual thing. Like I really had like no set plans coming into it, especially this week. I was just like, you know what? I don't think I'm ever gonna be fully prepared to do it. So I was just like, you know what? Saturday sounds good. Let's do it.
Could leave 2 coasters and like a couple coffee mugs. Trust autofocus on that?
No, I definitely do not trust the autofocus. You need to take a piss?
Not that. Yeah, just cover it with your shit.
Okay. Well, we're doing this.
Check 1, 2. Hey, yeah.
Is that that's your 104.3 shit or what? I'm new to this whole thing. So if I'm talking to, I'm not looking at the camera. I guess I can look at the camera sometimes, but anyways, it took us about like an hour and a half to set up.
Yes.
And I think it's going to be longer. Setting up is probably going to be longer than the actual podcast, which is hilarious. But I've always wanted to say this actually. Are we rolling?
Yes, as soon as I get my coffee, I forgot it.
Just a little bit of backstory and just to how we are sitting here right now, what led up to this point. So right now we're actually at a studio downtown, which is For the Brand Studio. And that is the marketing agency that my brother, who's sitting here with me right now, him and his wife Joanne and Corey and Priscilla, they own For the Brand. And you guys have been in business for the last year?
It's gonna be about 6 months, I would say. Well,
6 months.
No, more than that, because around April of this year.
Yeah, for sure. I've been wanting to do a podcast for a good while now. I mean, like me and you have talked about it. So this is the one who's sitting with me right here is my brother Javier, and he's 32. You're gonna go on 33 next week, right?
Yep.
Damn. So yeah, there's a 10-year difference between us, and I mean, we have a bunch of just in the past we just conversate just brothers would, and we always just talk about dude, why didn't we just have some mics set up right here, just because I feel like it could be a really good podcast. But yeah, I mean, for a while now I've been wanting to start just have my own podcast, have my own conversations, and not to mention I listen to tons of podcasts. At this point I think it's just a comfort thing for me sometimes. I just will throw it on, even sometimes if I can't fall asleep. Most nights I actually fall asleep listening to a podcast. It's kind of crazy, but I definitely have a lot of podcasts that I listen to, and I don't know what it is about it, but I genuinely enjoy hearing conversations, and especially about, just obviously certain topics that I like, but there's something about hearing people's perspectives and just hearing people talk that I guess is really nice.
So what you're saying is you fall asleep to the sound of Joe Rogan's voice?
Dude, yeah, more than just Joe Rogan. But no, for sure. I don't know why. It definitely. I guess it's like anything else. I don't see people who fall asleep watching TV, but for some reason I just set a timer on my phone for 30, 45 minutes, and I'll fall asleep just listening to Joe Rogan. Yeah.
What are you listening to lately?
I would say for sure Joe Rogan. David Goggins just released a new podcast with Joe Rogan, and that one's badass. Actually, that was one of the first podcasts I ever listened to, especially on Joe Rogan, and that's what really got me into, first of all, running. Second, just listening to podcasts in general. I had never heard anything like that. Just hearing people's stories is it's just very inspiring, and I feel like I'm a curious person. So I don't know if you ever talk to me in person, I feel like I ask a lot of questions, and sometimes I guess maybe for some people it can be kind of overwhelming, but I'm genuinely just curious. People interest me, I guess. So earlier this week, I was like, you know what? I've been wanting to do this for a while, and for some reason, this seemed just like a perfect time. Not that I was prepared by any means. Like, dude, even right now, I'm just like, what the fuck am I gonna even talk about? But I think that's with anything you do. It's just like, I don't think there's gonna be a perfect time. I think you just have to really just hop into it, and I mean, that's exactly what we're doing right now. And as I guess some of you who may have followed me in the past, or you still do, I've been posting on YouTube for I think the last 2 years now. And I started off my YouTube journey really just talking about mental health. Definitely had a lot of experiences when it comes to that. And so one of my first videos I ever released was me talking about just some of the anxiety that I dealt with back in college. And so it was a pandemic when I released my first video, and maybe like a year and a half leading up to that, my first video is when I had gone through like really just life-changing experiences that really shaped my, I don't know, just really opened my eyes to a lot of things. And so I'd started that YouTube channel talking about mental health, and ever since then I really had just tried to at least start posting consistently, really mainly about that sort of stuff. And then it kind of just evolved into vlogs and things like that. But anyways, I think one of the main reasons I want to start this is because I think mental health is a really, I think it's an important thing to talk about, especially nowadays. Like back then we were like, especially in our parents' generation, right? It's not people didn't used to open up about that stuff. Like even then, like I'll release videos about certain things that I've gone through, and dad will watch them. He's like, mijo, like, he doesn't tell me to stop, but you can tell he's like a little bit like, yo, like, why is he sharing this with everybody? And I honestly don't know what gave me the urge to really do that, but I don't know, it just feels kind of right. So that's one of the main reasons is I genuinely, first of all, I feel like there's something inside myself that I think it just feels right to share my own journey, because I think it will help a lot of people along the way. And it helps me put a lot of things in perspective as well when I share it and talk about it. Because, I mean, I'm learning more about myself every single day doing that. And also hearing other people's stories, dude. Like, you really, truly never know. Like, you think you know somebody on the surface, but, dude, everybody's going through something. And everybody has had experiences. No matter who they are, like, everybody's battling something. And so I've had the opportunity to, just being an open-minded person, just to have like conversations with people that truly just change the way I think about things, and really just make me much more the empathetic person, just hearing people's stories. But like I said, I'm genuinely curious about hearing people tell their stories and what they've gone through, because first of all, I mean, you get to know more about a person, but second, it helps me understand that I'm not alone, you know, like I'm not the only one going through these type of things. And I feel like if I can help bring some of those stories to light, right, to an audience, whoever's listening, you know, I think it just really helped people. If it doesn't help a lot of people, it's helping me. So I think that's one of the most important things.
Yeah. How do you find it? How do people react to some of your questions? When do you find that people open up easily whenever you're, you know, in a conversation with them and some of these mental health issues come up? Like, do you feel like people are willing to share, or glad that you asked, or how does it go?
Yeah, dude, I've actually definitely thought about that. And you know what's crazy is I think the fact that I've been so outspoken about like what I've gone through, I feel like people who've seen that, like, and especially know me, I feel like I really don't have to, like, I'll ask, but like most of the time I feel like people are just much more open to talking about that stuff with me, because they've seen me share my own story, and like they know I've gone through, you know, similar things. So there's been a lot of people who are like, even just on Instagram, like people I haven't talked to in like years, that just come to me and just like talk like, hey, I'm going through this, and like I watch your videos, and like I find them very helpful and inspirational, like people I would never think, like, so. And I think that's one of the most beautiful things that I've enjoyed is like I generally, ever since I feel like I started my YouTube channel, I feel like I've had more, just better interactions, deeper interactions with people because, I mean, they know I've gone through similar things, so they share that type of stuff with me, which is really, I mean, I'm honored when, if somebody's willing to open that, like share that with me, I'm just like, I mean, that's amazing. So on top of that, I'm sure a lot of people that will be listening will probably be around my age. So I'm 23 years old right now. Well, I'm 22. I'm going to turn 23 in like 3 weeks. And thankfully, I came across filmmaking and cinematography and stuff like two years ago. So I'm thankful that I could definitely confidently say that I found my passion in doing that. But before that, that was not the case. Like, when I was like my first year in college, dude, I think that's one of the main reasons I struggled a lot was because I genuinely did not know like what the hell I wanted to do. And, I just felt kind of lost, which that's the key word, is lost. And I feel like sometimes, especially people I talk to, when they open up to me, like they really genuinely feel like they're lost and like they're not sure how to even get started on what path, or like they're just kind of going through every day and they're like, they don't know they don't know what path to take, or they just feel lost. They don't know what they're doing. So, I could definitely relate to that. So I think having people and, come on to this podcast and being able to talk about like, because I feel like everybody has been lost at some point in their lives. And so, definitely being able to talk to like somebody like you who definitely has felt that before in the past when they were younger, and like, yeah, you went through certain things and you were able to, you know, at some point you're able to like kind of figure things out. Not to say you have everything figured out, right? Because I don't think any of us do, but yeah, just to be able to help people along their own journey and finding out what they're most passionate about. I think that's one of the main reasons as well.
Love it.
Yeah, I couldn't think of a perfect guest because you're the one that helped me like get started in my own like in finding my passion like for filmmaking and cinematography. Because I mean, you were doing the same thing as well. So you went to University of Dallas, right?
Yeah, right after high school, straight to University of Dallas,
Yeah.
which was one of my favorite experiences. Except it was very short.
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess just to give a little bit of background, I guess I didn't do very well in college, period.
What made you want to go to Dallas in the first place?
I always knew that I just wanted to go somewhere
Mm-hmm.
Outside of El Paso. Yeah, I wanted that whole, go out of town college experience.
That's one thing I remember you saying, like you really enjoyed it, but at one point you were struggling at some point. So can you kind of talk about that?
Yeah. I guess in high school I didn't really go out or like, go to a bunch of house parties. So I guess when I got to college, I was completely alone and I went a little bit crazy. Mm-hmm. And so
give me like one example of like just like keg stands and shit, or like college experience you would see in like movies type shit, or
yeah, I'm talking like blackouts and yeah, I mean, yeah, it was like that. Yeah. So obviously my grades struggled like pretty bad to the point where I had to come back to El Paso. And then I did the whole community college thing.
What'd you like? Because I remember that was even just as a like being little and like just kind of remembering when you came back. I remember that being like really tough on you, like when you first realized that you did have to come back because you weren't making the grades. Or I remember mom and dad like they basically said like you have to come back, right?
Well, yeah. Well, one, I had to come back because I got put on temporary, or like I think I got on probation for like a semester because of my grades.
Yeah. And what did that? Because I mean, talk about that. Like that, I feel like that definitely was a tough moment for you having to come back, right?
Yeah, I remember we had gotten our grades for the semester, and I really needed to get a certain amount of like A's or something, or even like C's or B's. And I looked at the report card and I saw that I was like kind of close, but at the same time, I I knew I was going to get on academic probation. And I remember going to each one of my professors, every single one, to get like a grade bump. And it was funny, a couple of them actually did, but it wasn't enough.
Wow.
And so I remember like going into every single one of their offices and like begging.
Yeah, dude, like I'll mow your lawn, I'll walk your dog, like whatever the I have to do, dude.
Yeah.
That. And how do you feel? Like, did you feel, because I know, like, I mean, you really liked it out there, and I mean, just coming back home for a lot of people feels like, did you kind of feel like you had failed at that point?
Oh, absolutely. It was, I mean, like I said, I've made some of the best friends I've ever had, and just the fact that I had to come back. And I mean, I always wanted to just go somewhere 4 years out to college, and then here I was like a year and a half later and just back in El Paso. I mean, we'll talk about that later. El Paso is not a bad thing. But at that time I just felt, that whole, stuck or whatever.
When you came back, what was going through your head? Like, were you went to community college, you said, but did you know, like, were you motivated? Were you like, just like...
At one point, I went through a point where I was like super sad. But once I enrolled in community college, I felt like that motivation, and like I pretty much shut everything out. Like I didn't, because I guess after high school, I didn't have, like, you keep touch with some friends and stuff, but I like made it a point to, I didn't do anything. And I actually got all A's that semester, but I didn't, like, my social life was like zero. So I did feel like that bit of motivation. And then I knew I wanted to enroll in UTEP.
And what were you pursuing at that point?
Oh my God. So at UD, I was first a business major, and then I went through this phase where, no, sorry. At UD, I was just a business major. And then when I went to community college, I enrolled in economics. So I wanted to be like an economics major. Mm-hmm. And then when I went to UTEP, I went from back to business management. And then I went through a phase where I said, screw it, I want to be a teacher. I want to be an English teacher. So I enrolled in all these English classes anyway. And then I went back to the business school, but I wanted to go into like IT, so like business information systems. And then I finally ended back in business management where I started. Dude. But I changed my major like 4 times.
Yeah, let's pause on that really quick. Like, that's definitely 4 or 5 major changes. And for people who are going through college right now, like, yes, it sounds ridiculous the way he was listing it out, but I feel like that's so normal not normal, but I feel like it's not that huge of a deal. It sounds like, damn, but like, I changed my major 3 times, and I still didn't end up pursuing what I got my degree in, so I just think that, especially if you're going to college, right, like, I mean, you're able to give some advice on that. Like, actually, in that moment when you were changing, like, how'd that feel? Did you feel like, I just don't know, like, what I want to do? Or did you have the mentality, or like, I'm just trying new different things, I'm seeing what I like?
No, it wasn't like, I wasn't just trying new things, because at the moment it was like, you feel like frustrated, and then you find something that, like, it's just like a moment of like I guess clarity, or just in that moment, and you just feel super motivated about the next thing. And so for example, when I wanted to be an English major, I felt super happy, because it's like, oh man, I really, really want to do this. Mm-hmm. So at that moment, it's more of like excitement. You did the same thing, right?
Well, I went to school for initially kinesiology. Mm-hmm. Shadowed physical therapists, and I was like, I don't think I want to do this. Changed to business, too much math that I didn't want to do. because I was taking calculus, and I think I went to class for like three times, and I was like, dude, from the moment I stepped foot in there, I was like, I have no clue what's going on. And when you do that, dude, it really feels like the end. Like you're like, how, like, what am I gonna do, dude? I'm not gonna pass this class. So I didn't even mess around with that. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna change immediately. And yeah, I think I ended up changing to psychology at that point. But yeah, you moved to UTEP, and then you definitely, I feel like your social life like boomed at UTEP, to say the least, right? I mean, you joined a frat, and I mean, you can kind of talk about that.
Kind of same thing, let loose, join the fraternity, and it actually came back to happen exactly what happened at UD. Mm-hmm. My grades suffered, and I actually got on academic probation at UTEP.
Damn, I didn't know that.
Yeah. You didn't know that?
No.
Oh.
Did mom and dad know that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I think I took a semester off, and then I was just working. And then at one point I said I did not want to go back to school. I thought it was pointless. I was working at HB, which is actually a family-run business here, selling pro audio and lighting. And for a while, that's exactly what I wanted to do. That's around the time where like Joe came into the picture.
Yeah.
My wife.
Okay, yeah. So that's a humongous role, or that's like a ginormous part of this whole picture, because not only is she your wife, but she's like, you guys, I mean, she's your business partner. You guys literally spend like almost every waking hour of the day together. So, I mean, yes, you're your individual person, but you guys very much go hand in hand. Like you're Javi and Joe, you know, like, and I feel like since then, like that's been, like, how'd you meet Joe, first of all? Like,
again, through the fraternity. She was in a sorority. Mm-hmm. We all had, the same circle of friends.
And she was keg standing, and you were like, dude, that's my wife right there.
From the moment I saw her do her first keg stand.
Dude, she's probably like, these motherfuckers. So you ended up going back to school. You were working at our family business, HB. So you went back for business management? Yeah. And when you went back for that last stint, that was your last stint, mm-hmm. Were you like completely like, I just got to get done? Because you were like 24, 25 already?
Yeah, it took me 7 years to graduate.
Dude, that's like a whole freaking MD right
I know,
there.
I could have been a doctor.
Holy shit.
But I'm a bachelor's.
Bachelor's business, dude. I mean, no shade at all. I'm going to say no shade at all. Everybody goes at their own pace, like, for real. We're just joking about, I always give them shit just because, like, it's funny, but everyone's at their own pace. Like,
Diego graduated in 3.
I mean, who's counting, dude? I sure as hell am. That's just because I knew I wanted to get the fuck out of there, dude. Yeah.
So, my dad fell in love with Joe for that reason, because you can attribute me going back to school because she really motivated me to.
I thought it's because she was taking all the shots at that New Year's Eve party and she got fucked up, but that's definitely one of the reasons too, by the way. But yeah, so yeah, I feel like you buckled down at that point and you finished, right? Yeah. Right after that, like, how'd that feel graduating? Because I know for me, when I graduated, like, I don't even think I felt, first of all, it was during COVID, so that probably has a lot to do with it. Like, my whole college experience was just like, I feel like it was not, I had probably had one solid year of a good college experience, but the rest was just like bullshit. Yeah. Because of COVID. So I didn't feel much graduating. And I mean that, like, I don't know, I kind of expected, like, oh man, I graduated, I have this degree. But like, for me, it wasn't like, I didn't really feel fulfilled in any aspect. So like, how'd you feel graduating?
Super relieved.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, one being because my GPA had gotten so bad that, like, when I went back the last time, it was like literally I had to get awesome grades to like just bring it back to like enough for me to like graduate. And so it took to the very, very last semester, like to the last class, where if I didn't get an A, I would have not had the GPA to pass, and I got it. So it was like at the time it was
Cincy that night or what? No, I'm just kidding.
I don't remember. But yeah, it was a relief, and I mean, it's crazy to think that all for a piece of paper, right?
Yeah. And $50,000 in debt. Yeah, so you felt relieved, and what'd you do immediately after that? What were your plans?
I became a teacher. Sort of. No, I believe I was still working at HB, and I still had no idea. Like,
did you think you were going to take over? Because HB is a family business. So my uncle, I think he's probably the main. He's definitely CEO for sure. My aunt works there as well, and she's an owner as well, and my mom is as well, and so that's a family business here in El Paso. Did you kind of feel like maybe that was like gonna be your thing, like you may one day like run HB?
Yeah, I for sure felt that at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew I had a business degree, but I still wanted to pursue, I was very into lighting and audio and stuff like that. But so it was for sure in the back of my mind.
Did you have passion for like setting up lights and like just?
Oh yeah,
thing?
I was super into that at that moment.
How long did you work there after?
I stayed at least one more year at.
Okay, yeah. So HB. We're turning on a pivot right here in Javier's life. So his significant other at this point is significant other only if you're married?
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so. Anyways, Joe, she had, I don't know exactly. I'll definitely have to have Joe on one time so she can give me the whole rundown of what went down.
I can give you that rundown.
Yeah.
If you
So
want.
like, yeah, how did she come to going to China?
We are sitting in her parents' house, and again, Joe's at a point where she also has no idea what her life is going to be, what job she's going to have. She's working retail. She's tired of that, and she has a college degree. And so we're sitting at her house, and I forgot exactly what happened, but Joe's like scrolling through Instagram or something, or she sees someone or one of her old friends or an acquaintance that had gone to China to teach English, and like she shows us, and then immediately she because you gotta at that point in her life, she really has she's frustrated. She has no idea what she's gonna do, and so it sounded like a super cool opportunity, and so she starts messaging him, and he gives her all the information, and she just starts getting super excited, and we talk about it, and I think it's super awesome, and it's something that I would want to do, and at that time I hadn't graduated yet, so we discussed it, and we thought it was the best thing. So
and so she decided to go out there. At that moment, did you you had been together for what, 3-4 years now?
At that point, yeah, 4. I want to say 4 years.
Yeah. So how'd you feel about your guys's obviously you supported her in every facet, you wanted her to go out there, but I'm sure that was pretty tough for you guys, right? Because how'd you feel about her leaving, and did you have any concerns for your relationship, or how are you gonna make it work?
Yeah, definitely. You always hear about long distance being
long distance is an understatement at this point. Did you feel how did that feel? Were there moments where you genuinely just missed her, you were sad, or what did that feel like?
Yeah, it was super hard. I remember it was one Christmas, It was Christmas time, and actually Garrett had sliced his finger with a knife. You remember that?
Yeah. Garrett, if you're watching this, dude, we got to get you on for that story. That'd be pretty crazy.
Anyway, we were at the hospital, and I was in the car, and I was FaceTiming Joe, and it was like we had to have a super tough conversation. If it's an awkward cut, it's because everything shut off.
Everything shut off, dude. It's actually 2 hours later. No, I'm just kidding.
We were at a point where she wanted to go back for another year, and it was just a matter of her feeling, because I told her that I wanted to join her in China, and she felt like I wanted to go because of her, and I was leaving like my passion of, lighting and stuff behind just to go with her. But at that time, I actually was super excited about it. And so it was just a matter of talking about what we wanted. And yeah, we just ended up deciding that both of us would go back the next year together.
And was it a pretty easy decision for you at that point?
At that point, yeah. I mean, I was... Of course, I was, I loved what I did, lighting, but I just didn't see a path forward at the time. And yeah, I just felt like, I've always loved to travel.
So was that the main reason you were like, okay, there's going to be an opportunity to travel?
For sure. Yeah.
Were you even thinking long term at that point? Or you were just like, this seems cool, I'm just going to do this for now and see?
Yeah, of course, I have such a hard time looking too far into the future. Yeah, so it was just definitely for the experience. I didn't really see, what could come out of it, or I just knew that it sounded like an awesome experience, so...
When you step on that plane for the first time, were you excited? Were you scared? Were you nervous? It was with Joanne because she had came back from the first time. So you guys had went together. So what were take me through that when you were leaving?
Well, I actually had gone prior. So 6 months into Joe's trip, her solo trip, I went for 10 days to visit her. So I had already gone over there.
Is that when you proposed to her?
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Yeah, I remember that. So you had been planning to propose to her when you visited her in China for this, when she was when she was doing her own thing out there.
Yes.
And you proposed to her in Thailand, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think I went to the same exact place. What beach was it? Do you remember?
It was...
was it Raleigh Beach?
No, it was like The Beach from the movie The Beach. It was called Maya Beach.
Dude, I didn't step on that beach, but I saw it, which is like, I was like in the lagoon where you can see the beach. I just didn't step on the beach because you had to pay a certain amount. But isn't it, I don't know, this is a complete sidetrack. The fact that we've been to a place like completely on the opposite side of the world, like in the same vicinity, but we didn't go, like we haven't been there together, but at one point I was there. I think that's pretty crazy.
It is crazy.
But yeah, anyway, so yeah, you proposed to her on that trip, and then...
Yeah. So to answer your question, I wasn't super nervous just because I had already, kind of made a similar trip. Of course, this was going to be longer term, and I was going to be doing something completely different, which is teaching. And
English
so, yeah.
to Chinese kids.
Yes.
Which is insane. Not because they're like, it's just... Like, you don't hear that often. Like, I'm going to go teach, like, Chinese kids English, especially with, like, U.S.-China relations. And it's just kind of crazy to me. But, yeah. So what were you expecting at that point? Like, because you don't know a lick of Mandarin. So it's like...
Yeah. Luckily, when you go over there, you go through a little bit of training. You have to do a little bit of training when you're here in the U.S. And then when you go over there, you do a little bit of in-person training. So, they prepare you a little bit, but yeah, it's completely like nothing like I've ever done. It's, I mean, just imagine because at the time I was teaching really young kids. When I first got there, it was elementary. And so just a room full of kids that first of all, as a foreigner there, you're like I want to say you're an entertainer. And so they love to have the foreign teacher. So yeah, it's pretty wild.
Were there any little shits in your classroom?
Yes.
James Harden and Kobe Bryant and it's funny because if I'm correct, they give each other their own English names.
Yes. So you had Spider-Man, you had LeBron,
Dude.
You had Kobe, Jordan.
Dude, I would change my name to LeBron in a heartbeat. That's so cool. What was your favorite thing about or some of your favorite things about living in China and that whole stint there?
There's just something about like being in a completely new place, and like every corner just seems like something new, and just like, especially when you first arrive, it's like you have your honeymoon phase where nothing annoys you, and everything is just so brand new and motivating. And
so it's just like the novelty of it all. And
yeah. You're in a school with other teachers, other foreign teachers. You're in the company that you go with has like a group of teachers, and you get together and, you know, you make friends and all of that. That was one of the best parts, I think. It's just, you know, meeting people from Ireland, from the UK, from Canada, from, you know, everywhere. And you're over there going through the same thing. So you hang out, go to bars, and it's really cool. Made some really good friends.
How much did that change like your perspective on things, just going and experiencing all these this different culture, and even just talking to people from different countries? Like, I'm sure, and at least when I went, like, I just looked at things differently when I came back. And as cliche as it sounds, like, it's so true. Like, did you kind of feel something similar to that?
Definitely. We're just a bunch of dumb Americans.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, there is this, and it's not in a super bad way. It's just almost like not, I guess, funny. They kind of like, you know, take jabs at you for certain things, but it does open your eyes, because you see a lot of perspective from everywhere. I mean, we made some friends that were from the Ukraine, from Russia, even from everywhere, Australia, and it's just, yeah, you just get to see so many different points of view. And so you definitely, like, coming back, you see things, you not differently, but you're a lot more open-minded, I feel.
For sure. Like, it's like I feel like you talk about just like the little jabs they throw. I think it's just the fact that they see that us Americans are like in our own world here. Like, everything revolves around what's happening in America, and I feel like just living here, it's like we're in our own bubble and we have no clue what's going on like elsewhere. It's just like we're kind of focused on where we are and what we're doing, and it's like we have no clue. Like, geography for like, that's the running joke too, is like Americans don't know shit about geography, and it's so true. Like, there'd be certain places where I'm like, I don't even know where that is, dude. Like, so what was some of like the downfalls that some of the things you didn't like so much about being out there? Because I mean, you're still like, yes, you're traveling, but you're living your life out there, and you still have all the same issues and problems. So like, take me through some of that.
Yeah, so I mean, I think everyone goes through kind of the same phases, and so you get there, it's the honeymoon phase, and then, you know, you settle in, and like you said, just life goes with you wherever. It doesn't matter where you are in the world. You can be on a beach in Hawaii, but something, you know, eventually it becomes life. Like, and so, you know, problems come. Just for example, one of the reasons we came back is just we didn't want to be teachers. And so getting in front of the class every day, and I guess it's just something that we didn't want to do. So, you slowly start to like get annoyed, and you start to like wish you were somewhere else or doing something else. And yeah, like you said, it's just whatever problems you have here or wherever you are, you can pick up and move, and you're going to have the same problems.
Yeah, I mean, unless you deal with those like internally, like it's still going to follow you, we talking about anxiety and stuff, how I dealt with that. And I remember you telling me that you feel like you had felt anxious over there. Can you tell me about that? Like what exactly you felt out there, and maybe what do you attribute that to, and like what you did?
Yeah. So when I was in China is when I first, I guess I had my first experience with what I didn't know what it was at the time was anxiety, and where I actually felt like physical symptoms. At first I thought I had diabetes.
Which, I mean, is not a bad guess, because like my whole family has freaking diabetes, dude. Like,
yeah, I would be on the bus or on the subway and just feel a little bit lightheaded, and I feel like my jaw, tightens, and mind's just racing, and
you feel a little like scared, right? Like you're like something's wrong with my health at this point, and it's like anxiety's not even a question in your mind.
Yeah, I didn't know what it was. I mean, I even developed, there was like some points during the night where my ear would just like shut, like one side of my ear would just like completely go deaf.
And you've had like
now I do, and
yeah.
I think it kind of stems from that, where
because I deal with this. I have tinnitus too, dude, or like I don't know how you say it, but it's like a ringing in your ear that is very common with anxiety, at least from what I've seen. And it's a weird thing, but I remember you talking about that you felt that.
Yeah, so I went through like a few nights where my ear would just like completely shut off one side, and then it was after that where I felt like I developed tinnitus or tinnitus, however you say it. And of course you WebMD and you do all the... I
have cancer. Holy shit.
Yeah, but really I think it is attributed to anxiety, which is I found it really strange, because it's almost like because you post vlogs, you post Instagrams, and you post all these pictures, and like something's like you're having a good time, like you should be having the best time of your life. Like who can say they're in a different country and being a teacher and just traveling, but then you're suffering from anxiety. And then so it's just almost like why is this happening? But like looking,
kind of feel guilty in some ways, right?
Yeah,
it's like,
exactly. And I know that's something that you went through as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But looking back at it, it's more about not like the experiences, because you have like the highest of highs. Obviously, it's like you're still out there with friends, and things can be really great. But again, it's just you're still, you still have these thoughts like, where am I going with my life? You're still dealing with, maybe you're dealing with everyday problems.
I mean, even issues in relationships and things like that,
Mm-hmm.
And I remember like you cut your finger, dude. You sliced a little bit of your finger.
I was hoping you weren't going to bring that up.
No, I think it's an integral part of the story. For the reason didn't you say like you remember feeling anxious because of that too, like after that?
Yeah, that's probably one one of the biggest reasons. So
I mean, it's hilarious talking about it, but like I'm sure it was like I can imagine how traumatizing it was, dude, because like
so I guess I'll just talk about it. I was trying to cook dinner for Joe.
that was the first ever and last. I'm just kidding.
No, that's the thing, is I used to cook a lot more.
Yeah.
And then after that, I anyway, my dumbass was trying to chop a corn on the cob in half, and for some reason I got the biggest knife I could find, and just like instead of I probably would have been better off just like hacking it once, but I was like pushing down on it and my finger was in the wrong place, and so I literally cut my fingertip off.
Dude.
And
you're just like, oh, shit.
Yeah, Joe was doing an online class. And then she just hears me like, oh.
Dude, I can just picture
Joe!
Dude, like I can just picture your face, like holy shit.
Oh, dude, I literally lifted the knife and like my fingertip was like on there. And then so like I like made myself visible, like, and she like said she told the student, hold on, and then she like went and saw the freaking blood everywhere. Dude. And she went and canceled the class, and then we're in China, dude. We have no idea how like anything healthcare works. And so she like grabs the fingertip and like puts it in a bag, which like we didn't have any ice.
Oh my god.
And so we called a Didi. Didi is like Uber, or we got a taxi, one of the two, and we just went to the hospital. And then, of course, I'm there, like we wrapped it in God knows what, paper towels or I don't know. And then so we're like in the main office and in the ER, like you would see here, but of course it's like if you have to fill out paperwork. And yeah, and like we're not, and yes, you're dying. And we're not citizens. And I mean, we have healthcare, sort of, but it's we had to go through that whole process, and then finally they see me, and then they said that they're gonna have to, they could either like just cut off a little bit of the bone, and then just sew it.
Sorry, we need your whole hand, sir. You can imagine.
Jesus. Yeah. Well, anyway, the fingertip they couldn't put it back on. Yeah. And then, so it was like, they said my bone was sticking out, so they would have to cut a little bit of the bone off and then just sew it. And then the other option was like grabbing a piece of skin off of my ass and then putting it over. Anyway, they just cleaned it up, and then the next day we went to another hospital and tried to, get a second opinion, and they said pretty much the same thing. And in my head, I'm just like, I do not want my finger any shorter,
dude,
because it would have been like, I mean, it would have been fine, I guess, but I would have had a shorter finger. Yeah. And then so I went to a third hospital, and they x-rayed it, and they said that it was just enough where it could heal by itself, and it would heal over the bone. And so that's what happened.
That goes to show you how I don't even know if this is right, like subjective medicine is.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like you get so many different opinions. Like you could have had a shorter finger, but no, like you went to another person and they were like, no, this can be fine, just healing. So it's like, it's just so crazy. Yeah. You could have been to one where like, dude, we need the whole finger. I'm sorry.
You pretty much.
Dude, that's insane.
Yeah. But I guess going back to that, after that, I think just that whole experience, and then like having to go back several times to the hospital to get it rewrapped and, check and to get it checked. And I feel like it was around that time where I started feeling those like physical symptoms. So yeah, I guess that whole experience would, be an integral part to that.
Did you vocalize what you felt to Joanne? Because you're not very vocal person about like how you're feeling.
No. I guess not at that time. Not immediately. We went on a trip to, I think it was Vietnam. No, Vietnam or Thailand. I don't remember, but I remember also being on that trip and like, again, you're like in this awesome place. You're like doing touristy things, and like I felt like I got vertigo, like where I would just like go up a building or something, beautiful view, but then I feel like I'm gonna freaking fall. Like, and I attribute that to anxiety as well. So it's very strange. You can be in these awesome places but your head is somewhere else. You're thinking about other things. You're just, I guess it's in your head, but you can still feel these things, anxiety, despite wherever you are in the world.
And it almost makes it worse because you're like,
I should be ecstatic.
Like you feel kind of like, I mean, I'm doing what I want, right? Like I'm doing what I pictured. I'm doing like, but something, it's like you can't get past that. You were in China and you would take little trips to different parts of Asia, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember your first trip?
Yes, it was to Vietnam.
And that was like the first time you had made a video, right?
Yeah. So we had been, we were planning for Vietnam. We were figuring out what we were going to do. So we found ourselves on blogs and then YouTube, and we just came across a couple channels that, shout out to Kara and Nate. That was probably one of the first inspirations of YouTube that we had. Just this couple that just travels all over the world, but we just thought it was super awesome that they were recording all their trips. And so we felt at that time, I mean, I've always kind of loved, recording stuff on my laptop, or just, I like tech. I like that sort of stuff. And I had actually made a video for our engagement when I went to visit Joe on a little GoPro, and I put a video together. But anyway, we thought it was super cool. And so I think we had just gotten ourselves iPhones, like the iPhone 8 at the time. And we're like, we have a super cool camera. We bought a little stabilizer gimbal, and we went on the trip to Vietnam and attempted to vlog.
Did you even know, like, were you trying to like, all right, let's just try something Kara and Nate would do? Or like, were you trying to, like, was that what you're trying to emulate? Or you were just like, let's just get this footage and then we'll make something cool from it?
Yeah, at the time, it was just trying to pretty much emulate like either them or like another channel, and just kind of like a mix of things.
And did you know you were going to release this on YouTube?
Yeah, that was the plan.
Yeah.
But originally it was like, we thought it would be a cool way just to keep family like back home updated. And so like, obviously when you upload to YouTube, like almost zero people see it, especially your first video.
Mm-hmm.
So we thought it would just be cool to just let our family know. And of course, like with the intention of like, if other people can, grow their channel, then maybe eventually we could too.
So you had already seen like an opportunity in that, potentially, like.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And from that first video, was Javi and Joe like a thing, like from the start, that like just the name and just the whole thing?
Yeah, we sat there and we're like, we need something like catchy. Looking back, I don't know why we just didn't do Javi and Joe, but we were like,
I mean, you guys were traveling at that point.
Yeah, so we were Javi and Joe, and then we tried to make things rhyme, and then we ended up with On the Go.
Mm-hmm. Like,
oh, dude, I was so excited.
Mm-hmm.
I was like finding the music. The very first one, it was just like basically a music video, just a highlight reel of our experiences. No talking, no vlogging, just like B-roll pretty much.
Remember the comment? It's like, this video is fucking pointless.
That's like one of the first comments we ever got on a video.
Dude,
And so you would
people are
think you would just
savage.
quit after that.
Imagine you did, dude, just because of that thing. That's one piece of advice. The first comment they ever got was, "This is fucking pointless." So if that's not motivation, I don't know what is.
Yeah. But looking back, it was pointless. It was zero information. It was like zero. It was just
Music,
footage and
yeah.
music. Yeah. But
Yeah, but you had made like little videos before in the past, but do you remember like making this when you were like, did you immediately feel like, wow, I can see myself doing like making videos and stuff?
yeah, I was like super hooked.
Really?
Like because we had gotten a bunch of footage, and so that was like the first one, and then yeah, after that I knocked out like, I don't know, 4 or something from Vietnam, and it was just super fun. I think I loved it from the get-go.
Yeah. What is it? What do you think it is about it that initially got you hooked? Because I mean, there's different aspects to filming, to making videos. What would you say was like one thing that you can look back at now? Is just like that. I think that's one thing that I really enjoy about it.
Yeah, initially what drew me to it was just matching like a cool song to cuts, and like, you know, on a drop, like putting like, you know, faster pace cuts or whatever. So initially I think it was like more music based. And then like gradually it just became more like, oh, this is like a badass shot, you know, like, you know, framing shots, or with Joe and I walking past in the distance, or just like stuff like that is what. So it like just kind of evolves.
You started just taking a bunch of trips around Southeast Asia. So you did Vietnam, you did Thailand, and you were making videos for all those, right?
Yes.
And did you see any growth pretty quickly, or was it pretty slow at first?
Super slow.
Like we're talking like 50.
Yeah.
Like,
the biggest jump was when we were already leaving. We stopped in Chiang Mai, and I think it was our last year, and we went to Thailand, we went to Chiang Mai, and then we recorded a video about an elephant sanctuary. And then at that point, I think we were at, I want to say 50 or 70 subscribers or something. And then that video like shot up pretty quick to 80 or 100,000 views. And we got up to about 300 subscribers. So that was like our first
like
big little jump.
In like a week or
Yeah.
even a day, really.
Yeah, like a couple days.
From that point where you're like, holy shit, we could like
Yeah,
we can make this thing work. You know?
Yes, until this day we haven't had a better video do better than that.
Oh, Jesus Christ. But
So,
I mean,
yeah.
there's plenty more to the story, but did that give you like a surge of motivation from that point on?
Oh, for sure. I think that's when we started thinking about maybe leaving China. And then we had started doing like some online classes, teaching English also to Chinese students. And so we kind of saw like an opportunity to like be able to travel, you know, still teach as long as we had good Wi-Fi, and focus on YouTube.
Epitome of digital nomading, dude.
Yeah.
That was your guys' life for what, like a year? Just around Asia. Just I remember seeing your videos in Bali, and like I was like, dude, this is crazy.
It was super exciting because we had mapped, like before we even went to Bali, we had like mapped out this awesome trip to Mexico. So we knew we wanted to just travel everywhere, but we wanted to start with Mexico because we've only had ever been to Cancun or, you know,
all the touristy places, you know.
Pretty much. And so we really wanted to get to know Mexico. So yeah, at that point we were just super pumped, motivated.
You were done with China when you went to Bali, right?
Yes.
So yeah, you went to Bali, and then you had planned out that trip to Mexico. So you came back to North America. Did you come back home first?
Yes.
So yeah, you came to visit home, and then you told basically everybody about your plans to travel to, basically start in Mexico and travel all the way down to fucking Antarctica, no?
Yeah, that was the plan.
Yeah. Where'd you start?
We started in Chihuahua. and then took the El Chepe train down to Sinaloa and went to Puerto Vallarta from there. And then pretty much Puerto Vallarta to Guadalajara to San Miguel de Allende, and then in San Luis Potosi. San Luis Potosi is pretty much when COVID hit.
And this point, you're like, are you starting to see traction in your YouTube?
Yeah, and we thought that we had found our little niche with even Mexico. We wanted to continue traveling everywhere, but we just found a good amount of traction making content for Mexico.
How consistently were you posting?
I would say twice. I want to say twice a week.
Wow, for a while, right? And that's how you guys saw like some of your best growth, like just being consistent and.
Yes. So we would do some of our most popular ones where we would share all our financials pretty much, and like the cost of living in certain cities. So we would stay, in Puerto Vallarta for a month, calculate everything, stay in Guadalajara for a month, and then we would make cost of living videos, and those did pretty well. And then of course just almost like city guides to certain cities. And we just found a lot of traction there because there's not a whole, like Asia, super saturated with content and guides, and Mexico, not so much.
So you saw a good opportunity in that. What were your financials like at that point? Like, because I know a lot of people that are going to watch this are like, that seems like a badass, like, I mean, that just seems like a badass thing to do. You guys were just traveling and working online. So like how well were you guys living, and were you guys barely sliding by, or like what was that looking like for you?
We were, I mean, just because of the cost of living alone, it like you could do a lot. And then just apartments, we would get Airbnbs
for what, like $500 a month?
For no more than 500. I think we splurged in Guadalajara and was like $600. But it was like a super cool spot. And then, I mean, all the way down to $300 in San Luis for like a 2-bedroom. It was super cool. But we were making about, I want to say, close to 2,000 each, teaching online.
In a month?
Yeah. Maybe between 1,500 and 2 each. And so, yeah, I mean, we were able to, live kind of course we'd cook a lot, but you could still go out, and we still were able to save some money. And so the cost of living's insane, dude. In Asia and Mexico, it's just it's awesome.
That's the thing about it, right? Is like even though money's not always going to be the best, like you make it a much bigger deal in your head sometimes, as opposed to like once you go somewhere, it's like you can make things work. Like you can rough it out for a week or two, and like, I don't know, like things are going to work themselves out, dude. Like
I definitely feel that, because there was times where we had barely anything, like, and we still had maybe 2 weeks left in the month, and you're like, what the hell are we gonna do? But somehow you just works. I don't know, you just make it work.
So yeah, you guys are on this journey and you're fucking living life, right? You're on your way to 50K subscribers, and then freaking COVID hits, dude.
Yes.
Which, I mean, hindered a lot of people's plans, and it was very unfortunate, obviously. So when COVID hit, you guys were in San Luis, and what were your thoughts at that point when COVID hit? Were you still trying to travel, or were you like, we need to go back home?
Yeah, well, everything like started shutting down, so we could either rough it out in Mexico or just go back, and we really wanted to stay. But at the same time, they were closing borders, and then, what if it got super bad and we got stuck, and we're not citizens. One of us has to go to the hospital. Like, how's that going to work? And so there was just a lot of uncertainty, and like when are shutdowns going to end?
So you guys decide to come back. I think it's maybe like May of 2020. You guys really coming back home is what kind of changed, I guess, the path that I went on or my trajectory. It really just changed my entire life at that point. Like you guys coming back and just spending time with you, because at that point I was in college. I would think it was my second year, and then we were like all at the house during the pandemic. And I had like I said, in the year prior in 2019, that's when I had went through like kind of all like just my experiences with anxiety and stuff.
Why don't you talk about that a little bit?
About what I went through?
Yeah.
Okay. So I would say just to give you guys a backstory, I would say like I first started I didn't realize it at the time, but I definitely started to feel anxiety and I guess depression as well in high school. But at that time, like I didn't really understand what it was. I would go to the doctors, like I would go to the doctor with mom, and like at one point actually during high school, we thought something was wrong with my heart because I had like really not abnormal, but like really low heart rate to like probably like 40, 41 beats per minute. And that's like pretty, if you're an athlete, it's like pretty normal, but like it got really low at one point. And it didn't concern them initially, but I remember I had fainted at one point, and you were there when I actually collapsed.
I laughed. I thought he was joking.
Dude, no, yeah, I was like 17 or 18, and I remember like I had gotten up from like the bed, and then it felt like I had gotten up too fast, and then I just got super dizzy. I ended up like just fainting, and I didn't hit my head or anything, but I remember thinking, I was like, what the hell was that? So a couple months had gone by, and then that's when I had started feeling like just these symptoms that I couldn't really describe at that point. It was like I'd feel, first of all, just very I'd feel like my heart palpitations, and then I'd feel like numbness and tingling in my fingers, and just wide-ranging symptoms where I was like, okay, I think something's wrong with me. So that's when I had went to the doctor. They had checked me up, checked my heart. Like they did a whole extensive process checking out my heart, and everything turned out fine. And I kind of gotten over that hump at that point. And so yeah, I went through I went through high school. I graduated, and then I ended up going to Arizona State. So I would say it was my second semester at Arizona State. It was right after Christmas break where I had felt, I was back home, and then I had started feeling just this uneasiness that I couldn't really describe, and kind of the similar things that I had felt during high school, right? But at that point, I still didn't know that it was anxiety, I didn't know what it was. So I ended up going back. I'm already a little worried going back, like for my second semester. But I kind of just internalize it. I just kind of keep it to myself. And like the first week I was there, like I remember feeling basically what I know now to be like panic attacks. So things would just kind of escalate to where like I'd start, my mind would start racing about shit that might be wrong with me, because I was feeling all these crazy symptoms. I couldn't sleep at one point, and it was just like all this was racing through my mind. So I was like, what if something's genuinely wrong with me? My mind would race about this, and then it got to the point where I started having panic attacks, like in my dorm room. Not to the point like when I say panic attacks, it's not where like I'm not fucking yelling and like it's very much an internal thing within myself. And what a panic attack is, that I know now, is it's essentially your body going in a fight or flight response. You know how you normally, if your body senses danger, right? Your things are going to activate within your sympathetic nervous system that are going to elevate your heart rate. Just a whole wide ranging thing is like are going to happen within your body. But that's happening in a panic attack for no, like, really for no reason at all. It's just happening, and you really can't. It's not something you can really, at least from what I've experienced, that I could really prevent. And so at that time, it's happening, and I'm like, I don't know their panic attacks. I don't know what the fuck's going on. So it's freaking me out, dude. So I end up going to the emergency room for the first time. I think I go with my friends because I'm like telling him like, yo, something's wrong with me. Like I'm not feeling good. And so first time I go to the emergency room, right? Talking to the doctor does not put my mind at ease one bit. It's like I'm telling him all I'm feeling, and he's just like, well, we check your vitals, everything's good, but we probably get your brain checked out, like just in case something might be wrong, like neurologically with your brain. Like, just I remember that so vividly, dude. I'm just staring at this dude like eyes, and like, have you ever had certain experiences where it feels like you kind of come outside your body, and like you're kind of looking yourself? Exactly, that's what I felt. I was like, okay, something's wrong with me, because he couldn't, and I don't blame him for not saying. Like, he generally probably didn't know what the fuck was going on. He probably saw like 87 patients that day anyway. So from that point on, things got worse. I was hoping things got better. No, things got worse from there, because now I'm just contemplating like, yo, something's definitely wrong. I'm feeling like my fingers and like my toes are going numb. I can't sleep. I'm like just crying for no reason. Like shit's like going pretty crazy, and I'm talking to mom every night, for like 2 weeks straight, just like crying, dude. Just like, I don't know what the fuck is wrong with me. It gets to the point where mom and dad have to calm down, because I'm just in pretty bad shape at that point. Like, I'm not sleeping well. I can't focus in class. There's a couple times I walk out of class because I just feel so uneasy. I'm just like, it was a really rough like month that I kind of had to endure. So anyways, yeah, they end up coming down. I go see my primary care doctor the same day. They get there that night. So that morning I had an appointment with like my primary care doctor or whatever. And I'm just like, they give me the sheet of paper, right, where it's like, have you felt any loss or interest in things, or, you know, like they give you this like DSM-5 or whatever the fuck it's called. And I'm checking every single box where it's like, do I feel loss of pleasure in doing things? Fuck yeah. Do I feel like I don't know. It's just like they give me a rundown, and I'm basically checking everything off for like depression, anxiety, everything. Anyways, I end up talking to the doctor, and at this point, I'm still like in very bad shape. Like, I guess the best way I can describe these moments I felt like this, it's always like I describe it as a spiral. It starts off like you start feeling these symptoms, and like over consecutive weeks, it seems like things just kind of escalate to where like it just gets really hard, dude. And so yeah, I'm sitting in the doctor's office, and they're basically telling, like, they come in and saying like, we're almost positive you experiencing anxiety. Like, they're asking me all these questions, and at that point I'm just like, there's no way, like, you can't tell me what I've been feeling the past like 4 weeks has been anxiety and like just that, because I had never thought about it like that though. Like, I didn't know what mental illness was. I didn't know, I really didn't know anything at that point. So even at that point they were telling me, I still didn't believe them, just because when you're in that state, it's like you're still so worried, So they ended up prescribing me medication. They even asked my mom because my mom has dealt with similar things. My sister has dealt with almost the same exact thing I've dealt with. So it's something that kind of has ran in my family. Even from that point on, I think 3 or 4 days after that, I went to the ER again, even though I had been taking the medication that they prescribed me. But it takes a while for things to really start helping. I've done a lot of research on the medication. I'm not going to go into depth, but I'm just saying it just because it's the truth, right? I went on medication. I won't get into all the details about that, but Yeah, I ended up going to the ER again, dude, after that, because I have like more panic attacks because I haven't got to any much of a better state, even though I'm taking the medication. Like I said, it takes a while for it to kick in. So I go to the ER again. They just give me something to like go to sleep, which was very relieving because, like I said, I couldn't really get any rest. So yeah, like I said, there was a month where it was like my second semester of college, where it was like probably the hardest thing I had ever experienced up to that point, right? But I would say maybe 2 or 3 weeks after I'd started taking the medication, I felt like a million times better. I know medication and like things, there's a lot of misconceptions, and it has a bad rap. And even at that point, I was like, I felt kind of not guilty, but I kind of felt disappointed that I had to take medication, just because, I mean, I don't know. It's like you never want to, you feel like you don't need it, or like, I honestly felt like I didn't want anybody to think any less of me, or like think something was wrong with me. But I can definitely say like it helped me get out of that place, and I hadn't felt that I guess that good in a while, and so I genuinely had like a more positive outlook on life. And I can say like 5 to 6 months after that had happened, after I was on medication and stuff, it was probably like some of the best moments in my life, just because I felt confident, I felt positive, like I felt just overall just more optimistic about things. And I started paying attention more in school, and like I just felt like I just, from that experience, I never wanted to go back to that. So I felt like I did a lot of things, I put a lot of things in place in my life to ensure that would never let it get to that point again, if that makes sense. So yeah, anyways, long story short, we're here in 2020, and I think I had changed my major like 2 or 3 times at that point. And then even though like I still didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, I knew I wanted to travel for sure, because you guys were already doing your thing. I think you were for sure had been posting already. I initially wanted to study abroad, but that wasn't an option for me just because of COVID. And so yeah, during the pandemic, I remember we had this, and mentally, I think for the pandemic for me was very good. I think for a variety of reasons. I think a lot of people can relate, actually, just because I don't know. I'm sure you can relate, dude. Like things kind of slowed down. We kind of relate to that, where it's like it felt like you were able to put a lot of things in perspective in your life and just kind of figure out what you wanted to do.
Definitely.
So I had felt that, and at this point I was able to come off medication, which I was genuinely like, for some reason, I said like, I don't think medication's a bad thing, but for myself, I think I didn't want to be on it forever. So I had gotten to a place in 2020 during the pandemic where I didn't have to take the medication anymore. I was the best I've ever felt mentally, physically, and that's when you guys had came back, and basically we had all this footage from a cruise that we had taken in for my graduation like a couple years earlier. And then I don't even know how it went, dude, but you were like, just like make your first video using this footage. And then you remember that night where you just like literally just gave me a little lesson on that. Do you want to check the light really quick, dude? It's kind of dim in here. Yeah. So yeah, I ended up making this little cruise video that I still have, and I think it's that night, dude, was like, I swear to God, like it was since that moment, I was like, I could not. I was hooked. I don't know exactly what it was about it, but I guess it was just how everything came together, and like I was able to tell a story, and just the music, everything about it. And I remember that night I couldn't sleep because I was just thinking about finishing the video. I can say it was probably, besides basketball, because I played basketball, it was probably the most thing I the thing I've been most passionate about in my entire life. Basically, the entire story I told you is what was my first video, just kind of all condensed. I kind of talked about everything I had went through, and I released it on YouTube. You were definitely a big part in that, because like, I don't know, it's something very, I mean, I'm at my most vulnerable state talking about this type of stuff, so I think you encouraging me to like make a video about that, and definitely something within myself where I was like, it just feels like I said, like it just felt right to do so. And when that first video I released, the amount of like optimism and just feedback, and just the amount of people that reached out to me, first of all saying like how inspired they were from my own story, but like they were telling me about some of the things they dealt with, and it was just like, I feel like this can be a really good thing. Like I want to keep doing this, and it was the first time that I genuinely felt like very fulfilled, and ever since then, I think that's why I've kept doing it. It took me a while. It's still taking me a while to grow. I've been releasing a lot on YouTube, but anyways, yeah, like just seeing you guys doing what you were doing, and then I had discovered filmmaking, and I had started to get, I think, pretty good at it. I decided that it was my last year in college. I was just gonna finish, and then travel, and then basically take my camera and make videos on YouTube, right? So for all of 2021, I graduated in March. I got a serving job, and then that was my entire focus, dude. Like work, try to post videos, and get ready for the trip. So that's when I had started planning out like everything from, all right, I'm going to fly into Bangkok, I'm going to do this, and just having you guys were able to guide me and really just show me everything. I mean, give me all your tips and tricks when it comes to traveling. And
so I feel like you and I had kind of similar journeys in a way. I touched a little bit about going over there, and I mean, I was able to stay for, I guess, 4 years, but I was with Joe. We had each other to support each other. We had each other to lean on, but you went completely alone. And so ultimately you ended up coming back. Just talk us through a little bit about how, you got there and what you immediately felt going over there.
yeah. So, yeah, like I said, I ended up going to, I think I left in March of this year, 2022. I ended up leaving in March. I had planned to go for like, I don't know if you guys remember, I didn't even have a time where I could have been over there for a year or two. Like I didn't know, I had a good amount of money saved up, and my plan was to do like video editing online, getting clients. I already had some clients online, and then I was gonna make YouTube and hopefully start making an income from that, right? So all these plans, of course, I ended up leaving in March, and I'm not gonna lie, like I already said, like in 2020, I had already came off the medication because I felt like I was in a very good spot. At the time I had left, even though I was very excited, I feel like mentally it wasn't optimal for me to, for that. The timing was just kind of bad. Like, I don't know, it was just like the nervousness of leaving, or I was genuinely excited. I know it's what I wanted to do, but I guess because of just, unfortunately, like what I have to deal with when it comes to anxiety, it really affected me. So I don't think I was at the most optimal state leaving already. I was pretty nervous. Like I was very emotional, actually. Like I didn't think it was gonna be super hard, but I remember like just even at the airport, right? I was like, I wasn't scared, but it was like, I remember just being like, holy shit, this is real. And already I had gotten to understand a lot about my mental health and my anxiety, and what sort of things would cause me to feel a certain way, right? At least I had thought that I had it under control, and I knew a lot of ways that I could really helped mitigate what I would feel when it came to anxiety. And like I hadn't had a panic attack since college, right? So I ended up going over there, but I remember like just already feeling anxious, like even on the ride over. But I was really excited. Like I was already vlogging. I was vlogging much of the time I was over there. So I ended up getting there, and jet lag was hit me pretty hard. I didn't think it would be as hard to adjust, but I think it took me like 2 weeks to really kind of adjust to things over there. And like I said, it was very exciting, very fun time. I met so many people along the way, and like it was so fun, dude. Like even the first videos I started releasing, like I was having so much fun editing those, dude. Like it really felt like I was at the right place at the right time doing what I was supposed to be doing. And I was getting such good feedback, dude. Like my channel started growing. I think the first video I released, I was getting like 200 to 300 views on every video. But first video I released in Thailand, I got like 12K. And from then I was like, holy shit, like I was excited, right? But for whatever reason, like there was always that lingering, like I said, it was a spiral. So I started feeling that like the little anxiousness when I got there, and it just kept escalating to where like of course I would have good moments, but at night sometimes I wouldn't be able to sleep. My physical symptoms kind of started getting worse, and I knew what it was, and I was throwing like the kitchen sink at it, dude. Like it felt like I was working out, I was running, I was doing things that I felt that before I did, like it usually would help, but no matter what, it felt like things just kept, like my anxiety just kept escalating, dude. And what sucks is like I knew what it was, but it's like, I mean, what could I do at that point? So long story short, so like I ended up doing like 2 weeks in Bangkok. I go down south. I start to feel pretty lonely. On top of the anxiety, I start to get really down, like very kind of sad. It's just kind of like just something that comes along with the anxiety, right? Anyways, I end up going to Chiang Mai. I'm supposed to stay in Chiang Mai for a month. But at this point, the anxiety is like, I'm already contemplating, like, I don't know if I could make this work. I didn't really meet anybody in Chiang Mai. So all this stuff I'm kind of internalizing. I'm already questioning, like, dude, I'm out here. Like, I've been wanting to do this for so long. But I can't crack this, dude. I'm talking to the fam, like, at least for a week straight. I mean, they already know how I'm feeling, right? And it gets to a point where I'm at a breaking point, dude. Like, aside from what I experienced back in college, this was like a million times harder because I was in a foreign country alone, and like I knew nobody there, dude. Like I'm in freaking Chiang Mai, and the only people that know what's going on is really you guys. And even then, I don't think you guys knew exactly the extent of it was. So it escalates to the point where it starts taking everything out of me to where like I'm getting these pounding headaches. I feel so low in energy. Like I can barely, at one point, like the morning, it was a morning I'd called mom and dad to where like, okay, I'm going to come back home. That morning I was just breaking down, dude. Like I could not control myself from just crying, and it was just kind of a tough moment for me. So I had already decided, okay, I'm going to come back, right? I ended up going to get breakfast, just cause I need to eat something. I need to get out of the fucking apartment, dude. It just feels like I'm like, all these thoughts are running through my head, and it's just very overwhelming. In this apartment, and I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna talk to my mom. Okay, I'm gonna go get something to eat. And on the way there, I'm like, I feel so weak. I feel like my mouth is, I don't know if you guys smoke weed, but you get cotton mouth. It's like 10 times worse than that. And like, I feel dizzy. I just feel so out of it. It feels like I'm in a movie, like in a daze. So I end up going to sit down. I'm looking at like all these flights that I can take. I'm looking to leave that night because I'm like, there's no way I can go back into the apartment, dude. Like I can't take another night of this. anyways, I order my food, and then I'm looking at flights, and for whatever reason, like, um, it literally feels like I had a heart attack. Like, it feels like I left my body, and I'm just like looking at myself, and it feels like I don't know, dude. It was so many different feelings all at once. But anyways, it was a panic attack, of course. And I just have this panic attack in the restaurant, and I'm literally trying to I'm trying to call people to like try to help me, or like even just I don't know, get someone's attention, because it literally feels like, if you've never had a panic attack, like, for all you know, you're dying at that point. I know it sounds very dramatic, but it really feels like that. So I start feeling this, right? So I'm like, I kind of able to get myself together. I'm on the phone with mom and dad, and I'm telling them what's going on, and they're like, the worry in their voice is making shit worse for me, because I'm like, they can't do anything about it. Like, they're halfway, like, they're not gonna fly over here to help. Like, I'm fucked. Like, I really didn't. Does that make sense? Like, I really don't know what to do, dude. Like, I'm in this restaurant, and so I'm like, I think I should go to the hospital, because at that point I'm like, if I fly, I'm gonna have panic attacks the whole way there. Like, there's no way. At this point, I don't think it's something I can control, because I'm just in this state where no matter what I'm doing, I can't bring myself down from that, you know? So I'm like, okay, I think the best thing to do, because if I go back to this apartment, I know it sounds like super dark, dude, but I don't know if I can make it. I'm going to go to the hospital. I Uber there, and they obviously see me. I'm pretty bad shape. I know it's so embarrassing, honestly, dude, just to like, it's probably one of the most embarrassing things to say, like, I went to the hospital, but I genuinely felt like I had no other option. But anyways, they knew that. I think just having them see me and talk to me, even though it was like they were speaking Thai mostly, like it was very hard communicating. They knew that I definitely should stay there for like 2 or 3 days, just because I was in pretty rough shape, dude. Basically, I talked to a psychologist there. He says you definitely need to get back on medication, because that's going to probably be the only way you're able to kind of get to a place where you can start functioning normally again, you know. And it was one of the hardest moments ever, because it's like I said, there's nothing wrong with medication, but just from my own mind, I'm like, for some reason I just felt so I don't know, just kind of embarrassed, and that's like the main thing. But I knew that it was the right thing to do, because it felt like I just wanted to get better. Yeah. And it sucks, because like I said, I really enjoyed it, but I don't know. It's just something I went through, and I had a few panic attacks on the plane on the way back. And nobody knew. It was like, I was just in my own row having panic attacks. Like, it's crazy to think about, but I think I even told the flight attendant, dude, like, I might have a panic attack. I don't know what's gonna happen, but I'm gonna let someone know, because for all they know, I could pass out, and like, you know, who knows what can happen. But yeah, and yeah, I know this podcast has gone really long, but I guess I'm definitely gonna elaborate more about what I went through in the past, and especially on this trip. But more than anything, that experience taught me so much. Like, it was probably the roughest thing I ever had to go through, and I'm still kind of coming to terms with what happened. I'm in a much better place right now. I feel great, honestly, but I'm still figuring out things internally. I'm definitely not where I want to be, but I mean, I'm taking steps to get there, right? And more than anything, I think that's one of the reasons I'm talking about it right now, is because I truly want to make people feel like if they experience these type of things, like, you're not the only one. definitely like everybody's experiences things differently, right? And but just know that I just want to make people know that like there's nothing, like it's okay to feel some of these things sometimes. Like sometimes you just really can't help yourself. And I think hopefully me shedding light on this story will kind of like, just help people out, That's the only thing I can hope for. I know I shared a lot. It's like super personal, and like I'm putting this on freaking Instagram and like, but like it's me, dude.
Wait, you're putting this on Instagram?
No, I'm probably never gonna release this, but no, I really feel like it just feels right. I mean, it's who I am. Like if I'm gonna be releasing YouTube videos about my life and shit, like this is all these experiences have shaped who I am today. So like how can I leave that type of stuff out, especially if like it could probably help someone,
I think that's super important.
Yeah.
Especially now with social media, and just that's another aspect to it where we can talk about it forever, but just people share their best lives. People share their highlight reels, and they don't always share what's really going on in that person's head, and so I think it's really important for sure to talk about. And I love that. I love that's what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, dude, that's a good point. But honestly, I think that's a good wrapping up spot.
Yeah.
But it was, as always, I think this went much smoother than I would have imagined. The only thing that's bugging the shit out of me right now is it's so dark in here.
Yeah.
That it's probably going to look fucking weird as hell when I release this. Like, it's going to look so dark, and I don't know. But, yeah.
That was my bad. It was pretty rookie of me to have like a super bright window, because I know the light's going to change.
Yeah, but honestly, I didn't think we're going to lose light so quick. And we didn't know how long it was going to be, but as long as we know that the lighting's fucking weird in here, just so you know. But hopefully I can still use this. But yeah, I'm honestly not sure. I don't even know the name of this podcast, by the way. I'm not sure when we'll release another one, or when I'll release another one, but I for sure, hopefully, if it resonates with people, or I really enjoy doing it. So just for that fact, I might keep doing it. Hopefully shoot for like one a month at least to start, because it's a big production to say the least. But yeah, I'm not sure when I'll talk to you guys next, but just you can expect another one for sure. I'll start thinking about the name of this podcast and the next guest. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I definitely would love your feedback. Maybe what you would want to hear more of, or what you enjoyed the most about the podcast. If you absolutely hate the sound of my voice, I'm sorry. Just don't listen next time.
And Diego will have much more interesting guests on his podcast, because, dude, I'm not the best.
No, you did great.
The best I don't express myself very well through words, but thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
And now our sponsors. This podcast was sponsored by CCR,
for real,
and ITC,
dude. And HP Pro
and
Sound.
Titanic Ballroom,
and Four Sigmatic. Just have to throw that one in there.
And For the Brand.
And For the Brand. Thanks, Corey. All right, till next time, guys. Peace out.
Peace. I'm super self-conscious, but